Today we are here with some special hosts and alumni from Domus Academy, Defne Koz and Marco Susani, and also Francesca Vargiu, that she worked in Domus Academy some years ago. Now she's still in the design sector, of course, and she's now here today with us to moderate this conversation, this webinar. It's a big honor for me to have you all here. This is a webinar, a series of webinar connecting the dots, where we involve as Domus Academy some notable alumni and fresh and notable alumni to share their experiences and stories from the design and the academy. The academic path they had in Domus Academy till now they are professional and super famous designer. Marco Susani, he's from Italy, he's Italian, and Defne Koz, he's originally from Turkey. They studied both in Domus Academy in the early beginning when Domus Academy was founded many years ago. And now they are super famous and international designers. They are here with us from Chicago. They are connecting from Chicago, from the US, since they work and they live there now. And I would like to say hi to everybody, to all our attendees, students, fresh alumni, teacher from Domus Academy, some of my colleagues from Domus Academy staff, our managing director, our enrollment director, and some other of my colleagues as teacher, lecturer, and also other alumni like Joseph and many others. We have students and attendees from all the, let's say, design field, from design, product, interaction, but not only. Francesca, I would like to leave the word to you and to our hosts, to our, let's say, alumni, Marco and Defne, to say hi first and to start this super interesting conversation. I can't wait, and it's a big pleasure for me and for Domus Academy to have you here back with us, even if virtually for the moment.
Great. So thank you very much, Cecilia, for this warm introduction. And thank you everybody for joining this conversation. Actually, I'm pretty excited today to come back just for a few hours to Domus Academy, even if virtually. And I'm very also excited to moderate this conversation with Marco and Defne. Actually, I'm frank. I remember when, while working at Domus, that I heard many times people speaking about Marco, Defne, just like, great masters and great designers with a wonderful and successful stories. And also, searching about them and also talking with them prior to this conversation, I would say that I think in a way also their story, their path, educational path, but also professional path is pretty iconic for Domus itself, because firstly, Marco and Defne, let me say, is a story of love because they met in Milan. So actually, they are a couple in work, but also in life, and that's great. But also is a story of cultural crossings, of cultural hybridization. So it's a very symbolic also for the DNA of the school itself. So very happy and very glad. So thank you, Marco, and thank you, Defne, for this opportunity that you're offering today to speak with you and also to share your story with us. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks, Domus Academy. It's really great to be almost back. Just remotely. We've been too far for too long. We've been far from Italy for more than 1 year because of the pandemic, and we've been a little too far away from Domus Academy so it's great to be back. Thanks to the students that take time to listen to us, and also just a shout out to friends I saw in the chat that we have. Hi everybody, and thanks for this invitation.
Well, thank you for having us. Yes, for sure.
So Defne, Marco, I will say that your story is also a story of crossed cultures, no, in a way. I think that that's something very, very important in your path. Marco, you are Italian, you studied in Domus, then you moved to US about 20 years ago, and you are still there running your studio with Defne. Defne, you come from Turkey, you moved to Milan, you attended Domus, you work in Milan for a while, and then you are in US. So, you know, there's an impressive, you know, stories of moving from one country to another one, actually, as many students of Domus, certainly. But in this context, also I was pretty impressed by a statement by Defne that I read, and she said, I consider myself an Italian designer, no matter where I'm from or no matter where I am. And I like to start the conversation actually, you know, from these words, because I think that they really, you know, contains a lot of meanings also for all the students of Domus, and anyway, you know, for everyone to really grasp and to really understand the value of the Italian design, of the Italian design culture, especially, you know, definitely from your point of view, so coming from another cultural context. So can you tell us something about what does it mean for you being an Italian designer?
Well, first of all, I think I can say that I am a person that I am against any kind of borders. So the physical borders are for me not existing. But of course, if you are talking about the culture, it is a very important issue. And I definitely believe, and I remember that before coming to Italy, before coming to study at Domus Academy, I was already fell in love with Italian design. And when I was at Domus, and maybe the further years after Domus, I realized that the way of studying design, I mean, not academically, but understanding design is completely different than the other cultures, because what I have noticed and learned over there is how you, the most important thing is how to approach a project. So it can be completely in different scales. As Ernesto Rojas says in his book, Dal cucchiaio alla città, and never mind the scale, it is important how you analyze the project, how you approach the project. So that is the most important thing. And once I learned that, it has been very important for me to work in different scales. So first of all, that was one issue. On the other hand, we always put the human being in, I mean, what we ever study, what we ever do as a project, we always put the persona, the human being in the middle, and we design around that human. That is also what I felt that was very Italian and right, because this is how you can realize what are the real things that are connecting the human being and all the physical attachments around him. So that was way more humanistic than the other cultures' approaches to design. So this is what I learned. That's why I consider myself more maybe Italian than Italian designer, because this is how I see design.
Marco, I remember that when we had some preliminary talks before this event, you mentioned a very important term, that is the Italian terms progettista, no, that we are very used to use the term designer worldwide, but actually, you know, there are this particular word in Italian, progettista, that for you as a great value, you know, in respect to the Italian culture. So can you share with us something? Because I was very interested in this reflection that is still very contemporary, very important.
It's difficult because of translations of terminology. So let's try. Like for many years, everybody, including Italian designers, have used the English term. I mean, design is an English term that designers in Italy always have used. So it sounded like we needed to import a term, and that's totally fine, because indeed designing, like building something and so on, that's totally fine. Thinking recently about the movement around the design thinking, and if you think what the definition of design thinking is, we have an Italian word that would work perfectly, that is progettare. And so we need to explain this for the non-Italian speakers. A project in Italian works as a verb. And actually in English, to project exists, but to project in English, it's mostly like to project an image. Metaphorically, progettare, the verb to project comes from to throw in ahead, to throw in front, pro and getto. So that's a perfect definition of what a designer does. So think about the future, basically. And think about the future in a very realistic and concrete terms. Look, have a vision of the future and plan how to get there. So that's why the proposal is from now on to use an Italian word as a fine. No, it's just an attitude. And connected to this, and connecting to what Defne was saying, the humanistic attitude, the idea of a vision of the future and building a path to get there, fits in a definition that is broader than problem solving. I mean, I don't think we need to be in contradiction with the typical Anglo-Saxon definition of design, that is problem solving. That's totally fine. But I think there is a little bit more. And the little bit more is look at humans, think and imagine a possible future and plan to get there. So this is more of storytelling than problem solving. That's a discussion that I have often with English speakers or people from another culture. That is, we see designers more similar to writers that write a book than engineers that solve a problem, because it's about telling a story, imagining the story of lives of people projected in the future.
But also I think, Marco, and you know very well that the education around design is pretty recent in Italy as well, no? It's dated back to the 80s, then the 90s, when the first university started to teach design. And in this context, of course, Domus Academy was a sort of avant-garde laboratory. And you had the great chance and the great honor to be one of the first one to attend Domus Academy. So when I heard about that, I was, wow. And you tell me very proud, I was part of the first year of Domus Academy. We were mentioning before, you know, the years 83 and 84. So that's wonderful. So my question is, but being, you know, among the first students of Domus, so a completely new kind of experience, which were your expectations, or which were, you know, your impressions in approaching something completely new and with no comparisons actually at that time?
Well, we were guinea pigs and we survived. That's in summary. No? I mean, they tested on us, and so the expectations were very difficult to have a clear expectation. So it was excitement because Domus Academy promised to be the first school, and even more exciting because it promised to be a school that was not supposed to be a school. So that's, I don't know how much is in the manifesto of Domus Academy still, this sentence, but for many years, design was defined as a school, non-school, with a very precise positioning. That was design had grown in Italy until then in the studios. So I mean, if you were studying around design, you were studying architecture. All the great designers before our generation did study architecture, and then as an extension, like Defne was saying before, design and architecture were naturally together. And Domus Academy thought, what about continuing that tradition, but after graduation? So we take people with backgrounds in architecture or any other background, and we do at the time 1 year of master class around a kind of atelier atmosphere where great designers from the Milano studios were coming in another studio that was Domus Academy, and they were working together with young students. So the identity of Domus Academy at the time was it's like working in a studio of a great designer, plus you have 5 or 6 of them, and in a structure where you are not really in their studio, but you can experiment a little more. And that's the biggest learning for me after the year of Domus Academy, where I understood, and it's actually even more clear now, knowing what happened after, is that consciously or not, the designers that were coming to teach I think they were using that experience to push their discipline further. If you think, I mean, I don't know if we have time to go one by one, but many of these designers came to the Domus Academy to experiment definitions of design that were a little bit out there, like they were testing new parts of a discipline. So Ettore Sozzas, for example, was teaching urban planning, which is not what he was doing in his studio, but it was an interest of his. Mario Bellini, who is and was a very strong industrial designer, product designer, was teaching like nuovi modelli abitativi, so new ways of life, which is fantastic in light of what's happening today. So new concept of living. So, and many others. So what we understood after that year is that we were experimenting because we were testing a new school, and they were coming to experiment, I mean, you use the term avant-garde. That was a place for avant-garde, not avant-garde in a classical sense, but yes, with the same scope, that is to take the discipline further, to innovate your discipline, to rebuild yourself.
Marco, you are a professor because you are currently also teaching at the University of Illinois. I remember that you mentioned. So how much also your former experience as a student of Domus Academy is impacting also your way of teaching? Many of our former students then right now, are becoming teachers, or, there's this, of course, a transfer of approaches and knowledge from a student to a teacher. So how much Domus and his approach, his teaching approach, is still part of your mode of working?
It's more or less what I just said. So the class I teach, one of the classes I teach is design-driven innovation, which is, let's say, teaching students how to innovate across disciplines. So we have, actually, my students are design students, engineering students, and business students, and sometimes also medical school. So we basically, with them, we experiment in working interdisciplinary. And the part of teaching that addresses designers is exactly what I was saying before. So we are once more testing how to stretch the design competence further and further, which is something I did also in between now and then. I mean, in my path in Domus Academy, for example, I did the same when we started teaching interaction design. So every time I teach or I practice design, I try to surprise them. I'm very happy when the reaction of either students or other professors or clients says, but does this have to do with design? I'm very happy because I experiment. I mean, when we started interaction design, many people were saying, this has nothing to do with design. Now it's one of the branches of design that are more common. And today we experiment on design innovation, on the connections between artificial intelligence and data and design. And does it make sense? I mean, is it connected to design? I don't know, but that's what, so that's how I take the teaching experience. It's like a combination of research on ourselves and sharing with the students.
Great. Defne, you are from Turkey, and remember you told us you moved to Milan when you enrolled to Domus. It was 1989, so also for you it was a very early stage of the school, no? And in your case, my question is, but at that time, why did you choose Domus and not other schools? So why, Domus?
When I was in Turkey before coming to Italy, actually, I did come several times with some scholarships every 2 years, I think, while I was studying at the university. And I was visiting other schools as well. Well, first of all, I was born to interior architects' parents. So therefore, actually, when I was growing up at their office, Domus magazine for me was a kind of Bible, and for them as well. So that's why actually the name of the Domus was already there on my hand. And but of course, I was grown up with this myth of Italian design, Italian designers. And when I decided to study design, there was no other option for me in my mind where to study design. So it was supposed to be Italy. And therefore, prior to going to Italy and studying over there, I decided to go and visit all the schools that might be in my interest and see how are they. And I was pretty surprised because what I have found back then, there were no design schools. I mean, there were no schools that they were teaching design. And I was really shocked. So where all these Italian masters are coming from? So that was my biggest question mark. And of course, you realize most of them are architects. And again, it is not important to have that approach. Even if you are an architect, you can do design, or like the scale is different. But so the other schools made me, let's say, I saw in the other schools more how to pass your free time, like what would you learn as a hobby and those kind of schools. And I said, well, this is not what I want to do, where I want to learn. And I said, okay, let's go to Domus Academy. This is this has always been my dream. And when I did visit, that was a dreamland for me. I immediately realized the differentiation, and so there was no other choice for me to go elsewhere. So when I was accepted to Domus, of course, I realized how privileged I was, and so. But then when I met my professors, that was very unique, of course, about as Marco was mentioning before. I mean, from Pierre Restanidi, Clino Castelli, and all from Castiglioni to Isao Zoe to Magistretti to Sozzas. Of course, it was it was a place where you had a unique experience. But I mean, more than that, actually, I was also surprised with the expectations from the students, or what the school wanted to say to us was not teaching design to these students. It was, we were supposed to know already design in a way, but they taught us how to think about design. And I think that was the biggest experience that I had with Domus Academy. So that was my unforgettable experience, let's say.
Yeah, the biggest learning, yeah, that it's still with you. And Defne, I remember that you tell me a very funny story, when someone convinced you not to come back to Turkey after graduation.
Well, yes, I mean, during the day of the graduation, and I was a very good student, I believe, at Domus. And when I have studied, I did my thesis with Alberto Meda, and I have done a beautiful Metropolitana project with Andrea Branzi, and I learned a lot from Ezio Manzini. So they were there giving me the diploma, and they were asking me, so Defne, what is the next step? And I said, well, I'm going away back to Turkey in 3 days. And they said, no. Well, what do you mean, no? Milan is a very competitive city, and I'm not that competitive. I don't like that kind of competition. I mean, there are very few places where to me at least, that I really wanted to work. And I realized, back then, even if actually there were not as many students as now, it was a very competitive place. So I said, no, I should be going back. And they said, no, you have to stay and apply what you have learned. So I had to, luckily, I decided to stay in Milan, and gave me 3 months of chance. And the first place that I did go was Associati, and that was very interesting. That was Studio Associati back then. All was a big studio actually, but they said Marco Zanini, who saw my portfolio, he said, "Well, this is quite interesting, but." We don't have space, unfortunately. And then I said, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? This was the only thing where I would like to be. Then I said, okay, I'm going to give to myself another chance to understand how the industries work. So I began to work progettare. I began to, give lots of thoughts to many projects, and then I did go and visit all these industries, saying, "Hello, this is my project. Would you be interested in?" And some of them were very interested in a young designer. And they were showing how the industry works, which was pretty amazing. Or some others, they were saying, no, not that one. And then I was like, no worries, then I have this one. Oh, you didn't like this one? Then I have this one. And this was like the street sellers, because I didn't know how this industry works. But that was the most precious time for me to understand this relationship between the designer and the industry. And luckily, after 2.5 months, I received a call from Marco Zanini, who was saying, if you are still free, come over to Associati. And that was another dream.
And there you met Marco, right?
Where I met Marco, correct.
Because Marco was already working there just after Domus.
He was a partner of Sotsas, and he was leading the design section. I was working with Marco Zanini in the first period of my time over there, and then I began to work with you. And my love to Italy, my love to Italian design turned to be my, to another love.
Great. And then Defne, you started also to collaborate with Turkish brands, designer brands. So I remember that you were explaining me as in a way, you know, you also exported the part of this Italian culture in Turkey. And I can say that because really also your way of working and your approach is so impressive and so clear also on the products that you do, and also in this collaboration that you were growing with the Turkish brands. So how did they react? Because of course, you know, they were in front of a Turkish designer, but educated in Italy, and so, you know, with a pretty different kind of mood for that time.
It was, well, we are talking about 1994-5. In that period, the Turkish industry was quite strong, actually, but they were not used to work with designers, especially for the external designers. And I was lucky to begin to work with some in Turkish industries, and that was mainly actually in the office industries, office furniture industries. And I realized a very big project, and that was almost the first time that a designer collaborated with a big industry to create a line. So it is not only one project, it is not only one product, but that was actually composed by definitely more than 48 products. This is what I remember. Pardon me?
It was a huge collection.
It was a huge collection. So after that, I continued to collaborate with several other companies in Turkey in different fields, from bathroom collections to other. It was pretty interesting also for me, because back then I already began to work with Italian industries. So I knew how the industries who used to work with designers are working differently than, in this case, with the Turkish industries, because for the Turkish industries was almost a very new thing to do this. So it was a kind of growing interest from their side. And actually today we can see there are so many very nice industries that are collaborating with national, international designers to begin to compete with the international brands and others. But back then it was an interesting experience, very positive from my side, and I hope also from their side as well.
Marco, in your case, after the experience at the Sotsas, the American dream came, you'd say, no? Because you decided to move to the US for joining Motorola. So in a way, also you changed, no, the scale. I remember that I told you, but Marco, you changed scale, no, from a small, medium studio in Italy to a big international company. But you explained me that from a certain point of view there, also for your specific role and for the context where you were working, you reproduce that kind of Italian design approach and Italian design cultures, right?
It was, I mean, let's say, in my path, it was quite connected to what happened before. And and actually there was a Domus Academy Research Center between Sozzas Associati and Motorola. So the reason why Motorola was interested in calling me and many others was that, I mean, year 2000, Motorola had been, I mean, they invented the cellular phone. They were almost the only one to have them, and Nokia started to be bigger than them. So they understood that technology is not enough and that they needed design. So I was part of a cultural change in the company where design became more important. So that's the perspective of Motorola, let's say, wanting a different perspective. For me, I mean, the path that I followed was I started in Olivetti with Ettore Sozzas, so dealing anyway with technology products. Then during the period of Sozzas Associati, I did started dealing with some technology products. So my interest has always been humanizing technologies. I mean, great curiosity and interest for high-tech products, but skepticism of their value if you don't design them properly. Then in Domus Academy Research Center, we continued, we started doing interaction design and so on. And so for me, going to Motorola was to continue working in this relationship between design and technology. And I was, let's say, interested in dealing with a large company. It was an experience that I wanted to try, from working as an external consultant to working inside. What I brought of, let's say, the Italian way of working or my past was that we were a group separate from the company within the company. We were a kind of mini startup inside Motorola. So I was using some of the way of thinking that were coming from the small studio like Sozzas or Domus Academy Research Center, and act as a provocateur towards a large company. So the dynamic of bringing innovation and culture change to a large company was what interested me and what was pretty cool. So we were a group of, I mean, it was very fun. A very nice group of people in Boston. I think some of them are here. Hi, Ignacio. And so we had a small group that was in Boston, separate from the headquarters in Chicago. And we were working on advanced concepts. So basically we were imagining what the company could have become if we were pushing a certain way of thinking from a design point of view. Then we grew to 20 people, and then I integrated with the headquarters. So we started more direct influence to the larger company.
And I say the American dream still continues, because you have been living in America for 20 years, Marco, if I'm not wrong, Defne 17, but anyway, you know, something similar, but especially, you know, you did set up your studio there in Chicago. So right now you are talking from your studio. And I like, you know, to take also this opportunity to jump to your production, to your products, and jump really, you know, with a sort of virtual tour in your studio, because we'd like also to see directly, without a PDF presentation, some of the products that we have been designed over the years.
That will be fun. We can try.
So let's test this.
Yeah,
so
let's do this test. Yeah, it's pretty experimental. This stuff.
So we are going to switch camera from looking inside to looking outside. And well, it's also a celebration because we started 2 days ago. We came back to the office. I mean, after more than 1 year, where like everybody, all of us had to lock down and leave the office. So we are celebrating our coming back to the office, but you will see it empty because our collaborators, I mean, we asked them to stay home. It's still a little risky to go around. So let's try and
Actually,
switch.
It's a great opportunity for us, and you can share with us this reopening of the studio after the pandemic. So behind you, I see some posters of your products.
So this wall, which is, so let's start moving. So when we created this place, we were coming from, we were combining the two experiences of ours. So this is a combination of products designed by her before building the studio and products designed by me. And well, the game we do is to ask people who visit, guess who did what here. So that's the scope of this. And then
I was just going to show you how this studio is generally, and then we will go to the more detailed version of it.
It's a wonderful sunny day in Chicago as well.
yes,
It is,
it's
finally.
sunny in Chicago, but it's still cold.
There's a marvelous light in your studio.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so this is where we work.
360.
Yeah.
And now we switch. Okay, so and now we go. I mean, it's not professional video making, so it will be shaky and a little too fast. But so some of the products designed after we started the studio. Flooring systems where we basically reinvented woods that don't exist in nature. So like, I don't know how we look in remotely, but basically this is for a company that used it to do imitation wood. We invented wood from a tree that doesn't exist. So the warmth of wood, certain textures, but with the veins that are, like in this case, generated by a computer program.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we've been saying that this is wood from a tree from Mars. So because I mean, if you use real wood, you can't control the veins, and you have some limits. Like this is a stool. I don't know if the light will work properly, but this is a stool with some detail.
You know them very well.
So these are first connections with US companies. This is for a company in North Carolina. Vases.
Gold Design Award in Germany.
That's amazing. I love those vases.
This is very recent collection of bathroom fixtures and furniture. This is a separator. Actually, we did this project before the pandemic, and it ended up being quite successful because of the pandemic, because it's a separator for open spaces, and since it's like smaller parts that are movable, let's try to rotate them. So you can close or open, so you could see or not see, and it's a fabric that is sound absorbing.
Okay.
And I guess like immediately after the shock of the pandemic, everybody will close completely, and then hopefully we'll start to reopen it again.
Yeah.
Now some other like tiles in marble with like a reinterpretation of mosaics. I mean, these are larger parts. I mean, each one of these is. And textures. So this is real marble with a surface texture. So it's a combination. It's like two layers of different textures. Actually three layers. One is the veins itself of the marble. Then there is let's say scratching on the surface, and there is the composition of the smaller parts. Always with the idea of having a depth effect, a deeper effect. And for another company, always in marble, a kind of three-dimensional decoration. The idea here was to have a very soft, very warm marble. I mean, marble usually, I mean, literally it is cold, but also like its identity. Sometimes it feels a little cold. These soft textures and decoration. I mean, it's I don't know how much it will be perceivable through the camera, but
we see that. We see that perfectly.
And then, I mean, this is the wall with a combination of products done in very different periods. I mean, we have a legacy. This is 1989, first collaboration between an Italian design company, Società Associati, and California Technology. This was done, this is a telephone, by the way. Good old telephone with a cord. I mean,
wonderful.
Done with Ettore Sozzas in collaboration with the studio that became IDEO, which now is the biggest design studio. More recent projects of branding, like design of the bottle, the name, the brand, and the label for a drink. Strange projects like for 3M, this is a scourer, I mean, to clean the kitchen. Can you humanize a little bit? It's just the shape that is.
But yeah, it's really impressive, the range of products that you have designed. But I think again, is really symbolic and is really representative of what we were saying before. This design across the scales and across the different fields, but with the same kind of approach. So there's no matter demonstration that you work for that.
It's also the fact that we like to do strange things. Like when a company comes and tells you, can you redesign a hinge? This is a hinge for furniture. And we did drama. What we hate is when you open a very well-designed piece of furniture and you find this ugly mechanism, very clunky and so on. So we started redesigning the mechanics and then it was too complicated. And so we said, okay, let's cover it. And by using soft materials, we basically created a kind of lifestyle hinge. So some early designs for Motorola, when phones were looking like old phones before smartphones. Experimental projects. This is an experimental project we did around the future of food, where you would have a soup maker with an application that would suggest like diets and nutrition and so on. Defne's design for Alessi.
Also, it's impressive, this combination between very, tactile and very emotional products, and on the other side, also products with a strong technological interfaces. That probably also,
always hoping
combining your approaches.
Always hoping that there is a human element, even in the ones. We have different works with glass of different types, like crystal glass of thicknesses, thinner glass. I mean, this will not come very well in video, but it's a matte white glass, so it feels very nice. Probably it looks like flat in camera. Defne for Alessi, experimenting with the classic wire from Alessi. Glass.
So basically from Chicago, you're working internationally. So I would say that also the dynamics that this pandemic set up for you were already part of your way of working.
Yeah, I mean, the impact of the pandemic has been more in our collaboration with our designers. With clients, we were already used to work remotely. A collection of plates for a German
company. Not
company.
only a collection of the plates, that is actually a very nice project because we were invited by a German company, and the German company's name is Mitterteich, and They asked us to collaborate with them, but we realized that actually their collection is not matching to our way of seeing design. Therefore, we said, why don't we create a different line for you where we can design more contemporary products, because they were good in quality, but they were very classical way of doing design. Therefore, we did realize actually a brand, and we did design not only the logo itself, but all the products, around 170 products and several collections. We did the art direction of it, and practically every participation to their fair, to the fairs. So we did design the stands, and we did even design the garments of the people who are actually working over there. So it was a 360-degree project practically.
Very recent products. I mean, this is the Compasso door winner. So it's the charger for electric vehicles designed by the Italian and European company Enel. So this was a very interesting project because it was the invention of a type of product that didn't exist before. I mean, and I mean, how many times a designer, in addition to designing a product, invents what the product is, the scale, the size, how it lives in the city, and so on. So this is an urban charger for electric cars. And we have, let's move fast, I mean, sanitary fixtures and another product that we designed for Enel is the version for private use. I mean, you would have it in the garage for an electric car. And we are continuing working with them.
What was the most challenging products that you designed, or in
general?
Yeah, in general, or among what we've just seen. Is there one that you can just pick up and you can say, yeah, this has been a long process or a very exciting process for this reason?
I think the nice thing is.
Sorry, I need to check if you hear correctly.
Sorry.
No,
I think hear that perfectly. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I think it is quite challenging for us to collaborate in different fields, and plus to that, actually with different cultures. So in some of them, we begin the collaboration without knowing deeply their technologies and so, but we are always learning with them and with how the project evolves. So actually, this is the nicest part of our job, I believe, that we continuously, we continue to learn. So instead of being specializzati in only one product range, we continue to collaborate in different fields, in different projects, so that helps us to learn more, and then at the end we have a kind of we become rich in knowledge of many different fields. What is the one that is making us more? Marco, would you like to add that one? I mean,
I'm not prepared to this question, no, because I mean, I'm sure. No, I mean, I would be able to define what's most interesting for me is anything I didn't do before. So that's why the electric vehicle charger was interesting, because we never did one and nobody ever did one.
That was the point.
But so then, so the challenge of inventing something new, similar to to inventing a new way of doing design when I started doing interaction design and so on. So that's the most interesting. The most challenging and difficult, I mean, we have difficulties of different types. I mean, there are challenges when there are like engineering challenges together with design ones. There are clients that are more difficult than others, but yeah, I mean, any challenge is nice.
Guys, thank you for this virtual tour. But Marco, before going back to with the camera, can you show us the window view from your studio? Because you showed me and Cecilia before, and I wanted to share with everyone because it's amazing.
Okay, so we
go. Yes, please, Marco, it's beautiful. It's a really wonderful view and landscape and skyline.
Yeah.
We arranged to have a sunshine.
Yeah. That's the American dream.
Well, the one skyscraper that is a little pyramid shape, that's the Hancock Tower. It was one of the tallest in the world. And if you see the construction, they are building more and more. Actually, they are building too much in Chicago. And we are lucky enough to have nothing in front of us. And the train, I mean, we didn't arrange to have a train now, but this is the elevated train that is so famous in Chicago because of the Blues Brothers, if somebody remembers the movie. Wow. But yeah, I mean, we are very lucky that today spring is coming, hopefully.
And you are in the design district, right?
Yes, so we needed, I mean, we are totally fine to be in Chicago, but we were nostalgic. So we wanted to be in the area where the Italian companies are. I mean, in our street, there are B&B, Max Alto, Polyform, and so on. So we had a little bit of Italy here.
So in a pretty vibrant district.